The gunshot echoed across the Montana plains, startling Cole Blackwood from his midday meal. He abandoned his coffee and jerky, mounting his stallion Thunder in one fluid motion that spoke of years in the saddle. It was 1876, and this stretch of territory was supposed to be peaceful, relatively speaking. The second shot confirmed his suspicions. Someone was in trouble. Cole urged Thunder forward, following the sound over a rolling hill. The sight below made his blood run cold. A small wagon sat askew on the trail, one wheel broken. A woman with honey-colored hair was desperately trying to reload a revolver while positioning herself between two small children and three men on horseback. Even from this distance, Cole recognized the Dalton brothers' local trouble with a reputation for taking what they wanted. "Stay down," the woman commanded her children, her voice carrying on the wind. A boy of about 7 and a girl no older than 5 huddled behind her skirts. Cole didn't hesitate. He drew his Winchester rifle from its scabbard and fired a warning shot that kicked up dust near the lead rider's horse. "That's far enough, Dalton," Cole called out, guiding Thunder down the hillside at a controlled pace. The three men turned, clearly annoyed at the interruption. "This ain't your business, Blackwood," the oldest Dalton snarled. "I'm making it my business." Cole kept his rifle level, his eyes never leaving the trio. "The lady clearly isn't interested in your company." The woman used the distraction to finish loading her revolver, holding it steady despite her obvious fear. "We're just offering to help with her broken wheel," the second Dalton said with a sneer that suggested otherwise. "After you shot it out?" Cole positioned himself between the brothers and the family. "I think the lady and her children would prefer different assistance." For a tense moment, Cole wondered if they would test him. 3 against 1 weren't favorable odds, but the Daltons knew his reputation as a former Army scout. Finally, the oldest spat on the ground. "Ain't worth the trouble. Let's ride." With venomous glares, the 3 turned their horses and galloped away. Only when they were specks on the horizon did Cole lower his rifle and turn to the woman. Up close, he saw eyes the color of summer sage and a face that, despite its current worry, showed remarkable strength. "Thank you," she said, lowering her revolver but not holstering it. "Smart woman. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't come along." "Cole Blackwood, madam." He tipped his hat. "I heard the shots." "Hannah Reynolds," she replied. "These are my children, William and Sarah." The children peered out cautiously from behind their mother. The boy had his mother's eyes, while the little girl clutched a worn rag doll with one hand and her mother's skirt with the other. Cole dismounted, examining the broken wheel. "Where are you headed, Mrs. Reynolds?" A shadow crossed her face. "Miss Reynolds. Their father. Passed last winter. We're trying to reach my cousin in Helena. He has a boarding house where we can stay until I find work." Cole nodded, understanding the unspoken story. A widow with 2 young children had few options in these territories. "Helena's still 40 miles north. You won't make it with this wheel." "I can fix it," William piped up, his small chin jutting defiantly. "Pa taught me about wagons." Cole smiled at the boy's courage. "I'm sure he did, son, but we'll need a new wheel entirely. The nearest place would be my ranch, about 3 miles east of here." Hannah's posture stiffened. "That's very kind, Mr. Blackwood, but we couldn't impose." "It's not an imposition. I've got spare wagon parts, and you folks need a safe place for the night. Those Daltons might circle back once they think I've moved on." Fear flickered across Hannah's face, and she glanced at her children. "Perhaps just for tonight, then." Cole nodded, already assessing the situation. "We'll need to unhitch your horse and secure what we can from the wagon. I can take the little one with me on Thunder, and William can ride your horse. You'll have to walk alongside, Miss Reynolds." "I'm sorry for that. I've walked farther for less important reasons, Mr. Blackwood." Within the hour, they had salvaged what they could from the wagon. Cole lifted little Sarah onto his saddle, surprised by how naturally she settled against him, her doll clutched to her chest. William sat proudly atop their mare, while Hannah walked beside them, one hand resting on a small trunk balanced across the horse's back. "You handle that revolver well," Cole observed as they traveled. "Not many ladies I know would stand their ground against 3 armed men." Hannah's expression hardened. "When you have children, Mr. Blackwood, you find courage you never knew existed." After a pause, she added, "My husband taught me to shoot before he passed. Said a woman alone should know how to protect herself. He was right about that. And please, call me Cole." Then I'm Hannah. The slightest smile softened her features. As they approached Cole's ranch, he felt an unfamiliar sense of anticipation. The modest two-story house stood solid against the backdrop of grazing land and distant mountains. A barn, corral, and bunkhouse completed the picture. It wasn't grand, but it was built with years of hard work after his army days. "You live here alone?" Hannah asked, taking in the size of the operation. "I've got 2 hands who help with the cattle. Good men. They stay in the bunkhouse yonder. House is just me, though." Cole helped Sarah down from Thunder, surprised when the little girl slipped her small hand into his as they walked toward the house. Something in that simple gesture squeezed his heart in a way he hadn't expected. "It's big," Sarah whispered, looking up at the house with wide eyes. "Too big for just one person," Cole found himself saying. "Gets mighty quiet sometimes." Hannah caught his eye over her daughter's head, a moment of understanding passing between them. Inside, Cole showed them to the spare bedroom. "You and Sarah can take this room. William can bunk with me, if that's all right." The boy's eyes lit up at the prospect of sharing quarters with a real cowboy. "That's very generous," Hannah said. "But we've imposed enough. William can sleep on the floor in our room." Ma," William protested. Cole recognized the pride in Hannah's stance. "No imposition. I'll be heading out at first light to retrieve your wagon and bring it back for repairs. Having William nearby means I won't wake the whole house when I rise." Hannah relented, and Cole showed them where they could wash up while he prepared a simple meal. As he worked in the kitchen, he found himself moving more deliberately, aware of the sounds of life filling his house, children's voices, a woman's gentle instructions, footsteps on the floorboards. Sounds he hadn't realized were missing until now. Over a dinner of beans, cornbread, and venison stew, Cole learned more about Hannah and her children. Her husband, James, had been a carpenter in St. Louis. After his death from pneumonia, Hannah had sold most of their possessions to fund the journey to her cousins and Helena, her only living relative. "James always talked about going west," she explained, helping Sarah with her food. "Said there was opportunity here for a man willing to work. I suppose I'm finishing what he started." "It takes courage to make that journey with 2 young ones," Cole said. "What about you?" Hannah asked. "You mentioned the army." Cole nodded, cutting his meat. "Served as a scout during the war, then stayed on to help map territories. Got tired of following orders and decided to stake my own claim about 5 years back. Been building this place ever since." "No family?" Hannah asked, then immediately looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry, that's too personal. No need for apologies. Never found the right woman, I suppose. Army life doesn't lend itself to courting, and out here." He gestured vaguely at the surrounding territory. "Well, ladies of quality are scarce." "Pa said Cole is a real hero," William announced, having clearly been listening intently. "I heard the Daltons call him Blackwood. The men in town talked about a Blackwood who fought in big battles." Cole smiled at the boy's enthusiasm. "I'm not sure about hero, son. Just did what needed doing, like most men." Later, after Hannah had put Sarah to bed, Cole showed William the loft where he'd be sleeping. The boy couldn't contain his excitement as he examined Cole's old cavalry pistol and the handmade quilt on the bed. "Did you kill many bad guys in the war?" William asked, his voice hushed. Cole sat on the edge of the bed, choosing his words carefully. "War isn't like the stories, William. There's no glory in taking a life, even when it's necessary. The bravest men I knew were those who protected others without having to fire a shot." The boy considered this. "Like today with the Daltons?" "That's right." Cole ruffled William's hair. "Now get some sleep. We've got an early start tomorrow." Downstairs, Cole found Hannah standing on the porch, gazing at the stars. He joined her, offering a cup of coffee, which she accepted gratefully. William settled in. "He's mighty impressed with you," Hannah said. "He's a good boy. You've done well with him." Hannah smiled faintly. "I try. It's not easy without his father. William's had to grow up faster than a boy should." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, the vast Montana sky stretching endlessly above them. "Why did you help us today?" Hannah asked suddenly. "You could have ridden past." "Most would have." Cole considered the question. "My pa taught me that a man's character is measured by what he does when no one's watching. I heard shots, and someone needed help. Simple as that." "Is it?" "Simple, I mean." Hannah's eyes searched his. "Maybe not." Cole found himself wanting to explain more than he usually would. When I was in the army, I saw a lot of people who needed help but didn't get it. Makes a man think about what kind of world he wants to live in. Hannah nodded, understanding in her eyes. James used to say something similar, that we're all responsible for the world we create around us. Your husband sounds like he was a wise man. He was. Her voice caught slightly. But it's been nearly a year now. The children need me to be strong. Cole wanted to tell her that she was the strongest woman he'd ever met, but he held back. They'd only just met, and she was still grieving. Instead, he changed the subject, pointing out constellations until Hannah's yawns became too frequent to ignore. The next morning, Cole rose before dawn. To his surprise, William was already awake, dressed, and eager to accompany him to recover the wagon. Ma said I could help, the boy explained. I know how the wagon works. Cole glanced at Hannah, who stood in the kitchen doorway with a sleepy Sarah on her hip. If it's all right with you, he said. William knows his way around a wagon, Hannah confirmed. And he wouldn't rest if I made him stay behind. Cole nodded, impressed by the boy's determination. Then saddle up, partner. We've got work to do. They rode out as the first light touched the eastern horizon. William sat tall on Hannah's mare, asking endless questions about ranching, horses, and Cole's time as a scout. Cole found himself enjoying the boy's company, answering patiently and occasionally testing William's knowledge of the natural world. See those tracks? Cole pointed to the ground as they neared the abandoned wagon. What made those? William studied them carefully. Deer? No, wait, elk. Good eye, Cole praised. Bull elk, from the size. Passed through this morning. The wagon was untouched, though Cole approached cautiously, scanning the surroundings for any sign of the Daltons. Together, they unloaded the remaining supplies, and Cole examined the broken wheel. We'll need to get this back to the ranch, he explained to William. I've got a spare wheel that might fit, but we'll need to make adjustments. William nodded seriously. Pa would have made a new one from scratch. He was real good with wood. I'm sure he was, Cole said gently. You must miss him a lot. The boy looked away, suddenly interested in adjusting his horse's bridle. Ma cries sometimes when she thinks we're asleep. Sarah doesn't really remember Pa much anymore. But I do. Cole placed a hand on William's shoulder. It's good that you remember. That way, part of him stays with you. They secured the wagon to Thunder with ropes, and with Cole leading his horse and William riding alongside, they slowly made their way back to the ranch. By mid-morning, they arrived to find Hannah hanging laundry while Sarah collected wildflowers nearby. The domestic scene struck Cole with unexpected force. In the bright morning light, with her hair loosely tied back and a hint of color in her cheeks, Hannah was more than just pretty, she was beautiful. When she looked up and smiled at their return, something shifted in Cole's chest. Successful mission? She called. Yes, madam, William answered proudly. Cole says I've got a good eye for tracking. I spotted elk prints. Hannah's smile widened. Did you now? Well, you'll have to tell Sarah all about it. She's been asking when you'd return. As William ran to his sister, Cole unloaded the wagon and began assessing the repairs needed. Hannah approached, offering a cup of water. Thank you, she said, for taking him with you. It meant a great deal to him. He's a quick learner, Cole replied, accepting the water. Smart boy. How long do you think the repairs will take? Cole wiped his brow. A day or two. The wheel's damaged beyond repair, but I've got one that should work with some modifications. The axle needs straightening too. Hannah's face fell slightly. I don't want to impose on your hospitality longer than necessary. It's no imposition, Cole assured her, surprising himself with how much he meant it. Truth be told, it's nice having folks around. Gets lonesome here sometimes. Hannah studied him for a moment. Well, at least let me earn our keep. I noticed your kitchen could use organizing, and those shirts you're wearing have seen better days. I can cook and mend while we're here. Cole wanted to refuse, he hadn't helped them expecting payment, but he recognized the pride in her offer. That would be much appreciated. Over the next 2 days, a comfortable routine developed. Cole worked on the wagon with William as his eager assistant, teaching the boy about tools and repairs. Hannah transformed Cole's bachelor quarters, cooking meals that made his usual fare seem bland by comparison. Sarah flitted between helping her mother and bringing wildflowers to decorate the table. In the evenings, they gathered on the porch. Cole told stories of his travels across the territories, careful to keep them appropriate for young ears. Hannah spoke of St. Lewis and her dreams of perhaps opening a small dressmaking shop someday. You sew then? Cole asked. Since I was Sarah's age, Hannah confirmed. I made all our clothes. In St. Louis, I sometimes took in work from neighbors. You have a gift, Cole said, fingering the neat stitches she'd added to his torn shirt. A shop would do well, I'd wager. On the third morning, Cole finished the wagon repairs. He should have felt satisfied, but instead found himself strangely reluctant to announce the completion. As he tightened the last bolt, William at his side handing him tools, he realized he wasn't ready for them to leave. Is it fixed? William asked, peering at Cole's handiwork. Good as new, Cole confirmed, running his hand over the repaired wheel. Maybe better. William's face fell. So we're leaving today? The boy's disappointment echoed Cole's own feelings. That's up to your ma. But there's no rush. The trail to Helena will be there tomorrow too. When Cole told Hannah the wagon was ready, he saw the same conflicted emotions cross her face. We should be on our way, then, she said, though without conviction. We've imposed on your kindness long enough. You could stay another day, Cole suggested, trying to sound casual. Give the repairs a chance to settle. Sometimes new wheels need adjusting after a few hours. Hannah hesitated, then nodded. Perhaps that would be wise. Just to be safe. That evening, after the children were in bed, Cole found Hannah on the porch again. The setting sun painted the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. It's beautiful here, she said softly. Different from St. Louis. Wilder, but peaceful too. Cole leaned against the railing beside her. That's what drew me to this land. The openness of it. The possibility. I can see that. Hannah turned to face him. Cole, I want to thank you properly for everything you've done for us. Not just the wagon, but making us feel welcome. You are welcome here, Hannah. Cole took a deep breath. More than welcome. I've been thinking. A shout from the bunkhouse interrupted him. One of his ranch hands, Frank, was running toward the house, urgency in his stride. Cole, riders coming in from the east. Looks like trouble. Cole was instantly alert, moving toward the door. Get inside, Hannah. Wake William and Sarah and stay away from the windows. Hannah didn't argue, rushing to obey. Cole grabbed his rifle from beside the door and joined Frank in the yard. How many? Cole asked. 5, maybe 6. One of them's Dalton for sure. Recognized that bay horse of his. Cole's jaw tightened. Get Hank and arm up. But no shooting unless they started. The riders approached slowly, deliberately. Cole counted 6 men, including all 3 Dalton brothers. They stopped at the edge of the yard, just beyond easy rifle range. Evening, Blackwood, the eldest Dalton called. Noticed you got company. That pretty widow's still here. State your business and move on, Dalton. Cole replied evenly. You're not welcome on my land. Now that ain't neighborly. Dalton's smile didn't reach his eyes. We just came to make sure the lady and her little ones got their wagon fixed proper. Dangerous country for a woman alone. She's not alone, Cole said, his voice hard. And her wagon's just fine. Now ride out before this gets unfriendly. The tension stretched between them. Cole was aware of Frank and Hank positioned at either corner of the house, rifles ready. Inside, he knew Hannah would be holding her children close, perhaps with her own revolver drawn. You know, Blackwood, Dalton drawled. There's rumors about gold in these hills. Shame if someone was to find it on your property while you were indisposed. The threat hung in the air. Cole had heard the rumors unfounded, as far as he knew, but the Daltons weren't known for rational thinking when greed was involved. There's no gold here, Cole said firmly. Just cattle and hard work, neither of which would interest you. Dalton spat on the ground. Maybe we should search the place ourselves, starting with that house. Cole raised his rifle. That would be your last mistake. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, from behind Cole, came the sound of the front door opening. Before he could call out a warning, Hannah stepped onto the porch, her revolver visible at her side but not raised. Mr. Dalton, she called clearly. I believe we've met. I'm the woman who put a bullet through your hat the other day. I'm a fair shot, as you recall, but with more time to aim, I expect I could be more precise. Perhaps somewhere lower than your hat. Cole almost smiled despite the tension. Behind Hannah, he glimpsed William in the doorway, holding what appeared to be Cole's old army pistol. The boy probably didn't know how to use it properly, but the Daltons wouldn't know that. Dalton's expression darkened. You threatening me, woman? Not at all, Hannah replied calmly. Just making conversation. About marksmanship and choices. You have a choice right now to ride away with your dignity and health intact. One of the other riders shifted nervously. Jed, maybe we should shut up, Dalton snapped, but Cole could see the uncertainty in his posture. 6 against 4 ain't great odds, Cole said. Especially when 2 of the 4 are the best shots in the territory. The standoff continued for another breathless moment before Dalton finally jerked his horse's reins. This ain't over, Blackwood. It is for tonight, Cole replied. The riders turned their horses and slowly rode away. Cole kept his rifle raised until they disappeared into the gathering darkness. Only then did he lower the weapon and turn to Hannah. That was either very brave or very foolish, he said, unable to keep the admiration from his voice. Hannah's hands trembled slightly as she holstered her revolver. Perhaps both. But I couldn't let you face them alone when it was my presence that brought them here. William stepped forward, Cole's pistol held awkwardly in his hands. I was ready to fight too. Cole gently took the unloaded pistol from the boy. You showed real courage, William. Both of you did. He looked back at Hannah. But they'll be back. Maybe not tonight, but soon. Then we should leave at first light, Hannah said, her expression resolute. I won't bring danger to your doorstep. No. The word came out more forcefully than Cole intended. I mean, leaving now might be more dangerous. They could be waiting on the trail. He gestured Frank and Hank closer. We'll double the watch tonight. At dawn, we'll scout the trail to Helena. Hannah nodded reluctantly. Very well. But we can't stay here indefinitely, Cole. We have to reach Helena eventually. Cole wanted to tell her that they didn't have to go anywhere, that there was a place for them right here, but the words stuck in his throat. Instead, he simply said, let's get through tonight first. The night passed without incident, though Cole slept little, taking turns with his men to patrol the property. At dawn, he rode out with Frank to scout the trail north, finding no sign of the Daltons. When he returned, he found Hannah and the children ready to depart, their belongings loaded onto the repaired wagon. The trail looks clear, Cole reported. But I'd feel better escorting you part of the way. Hannah nodded, relief evident in her expression. Thank you. That would be a comfort. As they prepared to leave, Cole took Hank aside. Keep a sharp eye out. If the Daltons come back, fire 3 shots and we'll return. Hank nodded his understanding. Be careful, boss. Those Daltons are snakes. Cole mounted Thunder, and they set off, Hannah driving the wagon with Sarah beside her, William riding the mare, and Cole leading the way. The morning was clear and cool, perfect for traveling. Under other circumstances, it might have been a pleasant journey. They'd covered perhaps 10 miles when Cole spotted dust on the horizon behind them. He urged them to a quicker pace, finding a defensible position where the trail narrowed between 2 rocky outcroppings. Stay with the wagon, he instructed Hannah. If there's trouble, take the children and head north. Don't stop until you reach Helena. What about you? Hannah's concern was evident. I'll be fine. It's likely nothing, but better safe than sorry. Cole positioned himself on higher ground, rifle ready. The approaching riders resolved into clearer view, not the Daltons, but an army patrol, 6 soldiers in blue uniforms. Relief washed over Cole as he recognized the officer in charge. He stood and waved, calling out, Captain Miller. The patrol approached, the captain raising his hand in greeting. Blackwood, thought that might be you. What brings you this far north of your spread? Cole explained the situation as Hannah and the children watched cautiously from the wagon. Captain Miller frowned at the mention of the Daltons. Been looking for those troublemakers. They robbed a stagecoach 2 days ago near Fort Benton. Shot the driver. Is he? Cole began. He'll live, but the Daltons are wanted men now. We've got patrols out all over the territory. Cole introduced Hannah and the children, explaining their destination. We're headed to Helena ourselves, Captain Miller said. Be pleased to escort you the rest of the way. The captain's offer should have relieved Cole, but instead, he felt a hollow sensation in his chest. With army protection, Hannah and the children would reach Helena safely. His presence was no longer necessary. As they continued north, now accompanied by the patrol, Cole found himself riding alongside Hannah's wagon. Sarah had fallen asleep, her head in her mother's lap, while William rode proudly beside one of the soldiers, peppering him with questions about army life. Seems your escort services are no longer required, Hannah said quietly, glancing at Cole. You could return to your ranch now. I said I'd see you to Helena, Cole replied. I keep my word. Hannah studied him for a moment. You've already done more than enough, Cole. More than anyone would expect. Maybe I'm not ready to say goodbye just yet. The words slipped out before Cole could consider them. Hannah's hands tightened on the reins. Cole, I know, he interrupted. You have plans. Your cousin is expecting you. I understand. They rode in silence for a while, the rhythmic creaking of the wagon filling the space between them. What if we didn't go to Helena? Hannah said suddenly, her voice so low Cole almost missed it. He looked at her sharply. What are you saying? Hannah kept her eyes on the trail ahead. It's just a thought. My cousin's boarding house is small. He's doing us a favor, but 3 extra mouths to feed. It won't be easy for him. And finding work in a city where I know no one. She trailed off. Hope flared in Cole's chest, but he tamped it down. Hannah, are you considering? I don't know what I'm considering, she interrupted, her cheeks flushing. It's foolish. We barely know each other. Sometimes a person just knows, Cole said quietly. I knew the moment I saw you standing between your children and danger. Knew there was something special about a woman with that kind of courage. Hannah finally met his gaze. And I knew when you rode down that hill like something out of a storybook. The children adore you already. William talks of nothing else. And Sarah? She smiled softly. Sarah asked this morning if you were going to be her new pa. Cole's heart hammered in his chest. I'd like that very much. If you'd consider it. Not right away, of course. We could take time, get to know each other properly. What exactly are you proposing, Cole Blackwood? Hannah's eyes held a mixture of hope and caution. I'm proposing that you and the children stay at my ranch. I've got plenty of room. You could set up your dressmaking there. The nearest town's growing, and folks would value fine sewing. William could help with the ranch, learn the business if he's interested. And Sarah? Cole smiled. Sarah could bring more wildflowers to brighten the place up. And us? Hannah asked softly. What about us? We'd court proper, Cole said firmly. I'd call on you. Take you to town for suppers and socials. If, in time, you found you could care for me the way I already care for you. He left the sentence unfinished, suddenly uncertain. Hannah was quiet for so long that Cole began to regret his boldness. Finally, she said, my cousin doesn't actually know we're coming. I wrote, but never received a reply. I'm not even sure he still has the boarding house. All the more reason to consider my offer, Cole said. At least until you can make contact with him. The children need stability, Hannah mused. After losing their father, another upheaval might be difficult. My ranch could offer that stability, Cole said earnestly. It's not much compared to city life, but there's good, clean air, plenty of food. And he hesitated, then finished. And someone who would care for all 3 of you like his own family. Hannah's eyes glistened with unshed tears. You make a compelling case, Mr. Blackwood. Is that a yes? It's a let's see where this trail leads us. Hannah's smile was tentative but genuine. I've learned not to make hasty decisions, but I'd be lying if I said the prospect didn't appeal to me. It wasn't the definitive answer Cole had hoped for, but it was enough for now. Then we'll ride to Helena, send word to your cousin, and see where the trail leads. They reached Helena the following day. Captain Miller directed them to the army outpost, where they could safely rest while Cole and Hannah sought out her cousin. To Cole's mixed emotions, they discovered that Hannah's cousin had indeed sold his boarding house the previous year and relocated to California. The letter Hannah had sent had never reached him. It seems our options are more limited than I thought, Hannah said as they walked back to the outpost. Perhaps I could find work here anyway. Cole stopped in the middle of the busy street, taking Hannah's hands in his. Or you could come back to the ranch. No obligations, no promises beyond my word that you and the children will have a safe home for as long as you wish. Hannah looked up at him, searching his face. And if we decide to stay permanently? Then I'd be the happiest man in the territory, Cole said simply. Hannah's smile was like the sun breaking through clouds. William will be overjoyed. He's been asking when we can go back to our ranch. And Sarah? Cole asked. Sarah already calls you Cole Papa when she thinks I can't hear. Cole's heart swelled at the thought. And what about their mother? What does she think of this arrangement? Hannah's cheeks colored slightly. Their mother thinks she may have found something she wasn't looking for. Something that feels remarkably like home. 2 days later, they began the journey back to Cole's ranch. This time, The atmosphere was entirely different, filled with anticipation rather than uncertainty. William chattered excitedly about the horses he would help train, while Sarah sang little songs from her perch in the wagon. Cole rode beside them, occasionally catching Hannah's eye and sharing a smile that held growing promise. The territory spread out before them, wild and beautiful and full of possibility. They arrived at the ranch in late afternoon, the setting sun gilding the buildings in warm light. Frank and Hank came out to greet them, their surprise at seeing Hannah and the children returning quickly giving way to understanding smiles. "Welcome back," Frank said, tipping his hat to Hannah. "Ranch hasn't been the same without your cooking, madam." Hannah laughed. "Well, we can't have hungry cowboys, can we? I'll see what I can do about supper." As the men helped unload the wagon, Cole lifted Sarah onto his shoulders, her delighted giggles warming his heart. William ran ahead to show his mother the improvements he planned for the chicken coop, already claiming the space as his own. That evening, after a hearty meal and stories by the fire, Cole sat on the porch steps watching the stars appear. Hannah joined him, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders against the evening chill. "The children are asleep," she said, exhausted from the excitement. "And their mother?" Cole asked. "How is she feeling?" Hannah settled beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. "Content. Perhaps a little overwhelmed, but in a good way." "Second thoughts?" Cole couldn't help asking. "No," Hannah said firmly. "Just adjusting to the idea that life can change so quickly. A week ago, we were strangers on a dangerous road. And now?" Cole prompted when she fell silent. Hannah turned to face him, her eyes reflecting the emerging stars. "And now I find myself thinking about possibilities I'd closed off after James died. A home, a partner, a future." Cole took her hand gently. "I meant what I said, Hannah. No rush, no pressure. We have time." "I know." She squeezed his hand. "But I'm beginning to think that sometimes the heart knows what it wants even when the mind is still catching up." In that moment, with the vastness of Montana spread around them and the warm light of home behind them, Cole did what he'd been wanting to do since the moment he saw Hannah standing brave and defiant in the face of danger. He leaned forward and kissed her gently, questioningly. Hannah answered by returning the kiss, her free hand coming up to rest against his cheek. When they parted, Cole rested his forehead against hers. "I think I'm falling in love with you, Hannah Reynolds." "I think I might be falling in love with you too, Cole Blackwood," she whispered. "It's terrifying and wonderful all at once." "The best things usually are," he replied. In the weeks that followed, they settled into a new rhythm of life. Hannah transformed the spare bedroom into a sewing room, already receiving orders from neighboring ranches after word spread of her skill. William became Cole's shadow, learning about cattle and horses with insatiable curiosity. Sarah filled the house with songs and laughter, her natural exuberance bringing light to corners long darkened by solitude. Cole courted Hannah properly, as promised. They rode to town for Saturday socials, had picnics by the creek that ran through the property, and spent evenings on the porch talking about everything and nothing. With each passing day, the bond between them deepened, evolving from cautious attraction to something far more profound. One evening, as summer gave way to early autumn, Cole and Hannah walked along the creek while William taught Sarah how to skip stones across the water. "I received a letter from my cousin today," Hannah said. "He finally got word of where we are." Cole tried to keep his voice neutral. "Oh, what did he say?" "He's glad we're settled. Says there's not much opportunity in California either. Too many people, not enough work." She looked up at Cole. "He asked if we were happy here." "And what did you tell him?" Cole held his breath. Hannah stopped walking, turning to face him fully. "I haven't written back yet, but I intend to tell him that we've found something better than opportunity. We've found home." Cole felt as though his heart might burst. "Hannah, I love you, Cole," she said simply. "I think I have since that first day, though I was too afraid to admit it even to myself. The children love you. And this place." She gestured to the land around them. "This is where we belong." Cole took both her hands in his. "I've been carrying this for 2 weeks, waiting for the right moment." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ring, a simple gold band with a modest pearl. "It was my mother's. I'd be honored if you'd wear it." Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "Are you asking what I think you're asking?" "Hannah Reynolds," Cole said, his voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. Would you do me the extraordinary honor of becoming my wife? Of letting me be a father to William and Sarah? Of building a life with me on this land? Yes, Hannah whispered, her voice breaking with emotion. Yes to all of it. Cole slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into his arms, kissing her with all the love that had been growing in his heart since the moment he'd seen her standing fierce and protective on that lonely trail. From the creek bank came a whoop of delight. They turned to see William pumping his fist in the air, while Sarah clapped her hands in excitement. Did she say yes? William called. Is Cole going to be our pa now? Hannah laughed through her tears. You knew about this? Cole asked for my permission last week, William said proudly. Said it was the proper thing to do, since I'm the man of the family. Cole grinned sheepishly at Hannah's raised eyebrow. I wanted to do this right. Sarah came running up, launching herself into Cole's arms. Cole Papa, she exclaimed, planting a wet kiss on his cheek. That's right, little one, Cole said, his voice thick with emotion. If it's all right with you. Sarah nodded vigorously. Mama says you chase away the bad dreams and the bad men. And you make the best pancakes. Hannah laughed, wrapping an arm around William's shoulders as he joined them. High praise indeed. The highest, Cole agreed, his heart full as he looked at the three people who had transformed his life in ways he never could have imagined. They were married 2 weeks later in the small church in town, with half the county in attendance. Hannah wore a dress she'd made herself, with Sarah as her flower girl and William standing tall and proud beside Cole as his best man. As Cole spoke his vows, he looked into Hannah's eyes and saw the future reflected their years of love and laughter, challenges overcome together, children growing strong and true under Montana skies. A family where once there had been only solitude. When the preacher pronounced them husband and wife, Cole kissed his bride to the cheers of the congregation. As they walked back down the aisle, Sarah darted forward to take Cole's hand, while William offered his arm to his mother with formal dignity. Mr. and Mrs. Blackwood, the preacher announced, and family. Family. The word echoed in Cole's heart as they stepped out into the bright autumn sunshine, facing the future together. Later that night, after the celebration had ended and the children were asleep in their rooms, Cole and Hannah stood on the porch of their home, truly their home, now looking out at the star-filled sky. Happy? Cole asked, his arm around his wife's waist. More than I ever thought possible, Hannah replied, leaning her head against his shoulder. When James died, I thought that part of my life was over. I never imagined I could find love again, especially not like this. Like what? Cole asked, pressing a kiss to her temple. Like something out of a story, Hannah said softly. A brave cowboy rides to the rescue, saves a widow and her children, and somehow sees something worth loving in a woman who thought those days were behind her. You've got it backward, Cole corrected gently. A lonely rancher stumbles across a woman of extraordinary courage, finds himself drawn to her strength and her heart, and miraculously discovers she might care for him too. Then he does everything in his power to be worthy of the gift he's been given, a ready-made family that fills every empty space in his life. Hannah turned in his arms, reaching up to touch his face. We saved each other, I think. And we'll keep doing so, Cole promised, for all the days to come. 5 years later, Cole Blackwood stood on that same porch, watching as William, now 12 and tall for his age, taught his 3-year-old brother Thomas how to rope a practice post. Sarah, 10 and growing more like her mother every day, sat nearby sketching the scene with remarkable skill. The sound of a baby's cry drew Cole's attention back to the house. Inside, Hannah was nursing their youngest, 6-month-old Rebecca, while keeping an eye on bread baking in the oven. The ranch house had been expanded twice in the past 5 years to accommodate their growing family. Need any help? Cole asked, stepping inside. Hannah smiled up at him, that same smile that never failed to quicken his pulse. We're just fine. Thomas behaving himself. William's got him well in hand, Cole assured her, bending to kiss the top of Rebecca's downy head. That boy's going to make a fine rancher someday. If that's what he wants, Hannah said. Though lately he's been talking about law school. All those books Judge Thompson lent him have him thinking about becoming a circuit judge. Cole nodded proudly. Whatever he chooses, he'll excel. He's got your brains and determination. And your heart, Hannah added. All our children do. Cole sat beside his wife, watching as she gently shifted Rebecca to her shoulder, patting the baby's back with practiced ease. The Blackwood Ranch had prospered over the years, growing to 3 times its original size. Hannah's dressmaking business had expanded too. She now employed 2 assistants and had orders from as far away as Denver. The Daltons were long gone, having finally pushed their luck too far in a failed bank robbery that left 2 of the brothers dead and the eldest serving time in a territorial prison. Captain Miller had been promoted to major and still stopped by whenever he was in the area, always marveling at how much the children had grown. Any regrets? Cole asked suddenly, a question he posed every now and then, still sometimes amazed by his good fortune. Hannah's answer was always the same. Not a single one. Every step of our journey led us exactly where we were meant to be. Outside, Thomas let out a whoop of triumph as his small rope settled around the practice post. William's cheer of approval and Sarah's applause drifted through the open window. I was thinking, Cole said, taking Rebecca as Hannah buttoned her dress, that we might take a trip next spring. Show the children St. Louis, maybe go on to Chicago. William's been reading about those big eastern cities. That sounds wonderful, Hannah agreed. Though I suspect by the end of it, they'll be as eager to get back to Montana as we will. No doubt, Cole chuckled. This land gets in your blood. It's not just the land, Hannah said, leaning against him. It's the life we've built here, the family we've become. Cole wrapped his free arm around his wife, holding her close as their daughter dozed against his shoulder. Through the window, he could see their other children playing in the golden afternoon light, their laughter a melody he never tired of hearing. 5 years ago, a gunshot had drawn him to a broken wagon on a lonely trail, where a brave woman stood protecting her children. In that moment, though he hadn't fully understood it then, Cole Blackwood had found everything he never knew. He was searching for a woman to love, children to cherish, and a family to call his own. I love you, Hannah Blackwood, he murmured against her hair. And I love you, Cole Blackwood, she replied, tilting her face up for his kiss. Today, tomorrow, and all the days after that. Outside, the Montana sunset painted the sky in brilliant hues, a fitting backdrop to the love story that had begun with danger and courage on a dusty trail, and blossomed into a life filled with joy, purpose, and the deepest kind of love, the kind that builds homes, raises children, and transforms solitary existences into something far greater than the sum of their parts. For Cole, who had once been a lonely cowboy with nothing but his land and his memories, life had become rich beyond measure. And it had all begun with that fateful moment when he'd crested a hill and seen Hannah standing tall and fierce, defending her children. In that instant, he'd known he wanted all 3 in his life. Now they were his family, expanded by 2 more children, bound by love and commitment, facing whatever adventures the future might hold, together. And in the end, that was all any man could ask for: a family to love, a legacy to build, and a partner to share it all with, beneath the vast Montana sky.